All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So first things first, happy 4th of July. I hope you're having a great day, and hopefully it's not raining by you. I'm looking at a humongous thunderstorm right outside this window here, but in any case, in this one, I wanted to focus in on a handful of players, really 4 players here, that I feel like have the most to prove. And please let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Who are some of the players on this roster? And, you know, if you want, feel free to throw in a coach, Aaron Glenn, Inkstrand, Steve Wilkes, someone like that. Who do you think has the most to prove? So for me, the first guy up here, the first name on this list, it's got to be Brandon Stephens, newcomer from the Baltimore Ravens. Now, when Stephens initially signed, it was pretty obvious to me that the Jets wanted him. You know, my kind of inclination coming into the offseason was, hey, Gardner's going to be paid eventually a lot of money. Michael Carter, relatively speaking, is paid a lot of money. He's one of the highest paid slot corners in football. DJ Reed is probably going to walk because of the money situation. And also, you know, it kind of seemed like he was on his way out. So let's hit the draft, right? Let's hit round 2 and draft a corner. I would have been totally cool with that. Trey Amos was someone who I really, really liked out of Ole Miss, someone who was good in man-to-man coverage. Like, there was just a lot of pros with Amos. And the Jets early on in free agency said, you know, we need to attack the cornerback position. Boom, Brandon Stephens, 3-year deal. Double digits. You know, this is not some backup sort of contract here. This is starting corner money. You know, a team like this, first year regime, they're not just going to hand out a 3-year deal to a guy that they're like, yeah, he's okay. We don't really know how to use him, but we'll just see when he gets here. Can't wait to work with him in training camp to really kind of figure out what type of player this is. No, 3-year deal means you know exactly who he is, you know exactly how he's going to fit, and you really want this guy. He is a coveted player by this regime. And so, of course, the reaction from a lot of fans was, and by fans I mean not only just Jets fans, but Ravens fans, it was, this is a lot of money, this is a big contract for the type of production that we saw last season. And so Aaron Glenn, they've kind of, you know, the Jets coaching said they've kind of addressed it. They like the upside. They like his skill set in this style of scheme. The vibe I'm getting is that the Jets feel like Stephens has a lot of room left in the tank to grow as a player. I mean, we all know about it. We've talked about it a lot. Aaron Glenn's development with the DB position, safeties, corners, both included, right? We saw it in New Orleans. We saw it in Detroit. We've seen Steve Wilkes develop DBs at a pretty successful rate, right? We've seen some late round guys really just bloom onto the scene, burst out onto the scene. So can Stephens be the next guy up? Right? Think about all the great DBs that Glenn has worked with, right? Where was the initial thought process, mindset from the outside? You know, Kirby Joseph, fans were pissed. We overdrafted this guy. He was projected to go in round 5. Why are we taking him in round 3? Why is he starting games? And then it turns out Aaron Glenn was right, because now he's one of the best safeties in football, arguably the best free safety, depending on what, you know, you like as a fan. The point is, you got to imagine that the Jets have a plan in place for Brandon Stephens, but at this point right now, we haven't really heard like tons of positive reviews. Granted, no pads, no contact. Maybe that changes when training camp gets going here. But to me, Brandon Stephens is someone right now where you kind of feel like, hey, there's a lot of pressure on him. He was paid a big deal. The production wasn't really there last season. We got to see something. And then you throw on top of it that Azareye'h Thomas was drafted in the 3rd round. And AZ Thomas was projected to go in round 1. And then he ran the slow 40 time. But even despite that, he was still being mocked mid-round 2. So we scooped him up in round 3. Incredible value there. So not only do we just attack BPA, but we added great depth at the position as well. And Thomas is a fantastic fit in this Aaron Glenn defense. We've heard some great things coming out of minicamp and whatnot from Thomas. Looks the par, athletic, you know, from an athletic standpoint, can hang with guys. So you have that guy, you have that young guy, talented, high upside dude who performed at Florida State right behind Stephens. So yeah, I think there's a lot to prove here for Stephens. So I think for me, the next player on this list here is center Joe Tippmann. And Tippmann, former 2nd round pick. We've seen some really impressive things from Tippmann so far in his career. I'm not doubting him as a player, but it feels like right now the Jets coaching staff is kind of like wait and see. Like, hey, I didn't draft you. I have not worked with you. you have to come out and prove it. They went out and they signed Josh Myers. There's this kind of, I don't, shocking is a bit of an overstatement, but maybe a little bit of a surprise that there's this positional battle for the starting center position, given Joe Tippmann's season a year ago, given his age, given his contract, given draft position, right? And the Jets were like, Josh Myers, come on in, right? A center that has been out there. He's been durable. He's been, I would say, decent, but he definitely hasn't blown anyone away as far as production. No one's labeled Josh Myers as a top 5 center, but he does have experience playing against Aaron Glenn's defenses. He also has experience playing with Justin Fields back in college. He's one of his guys. So it's kind of opened up this door. Is it, will it be Tip? Will it be Myers here? Only time will tell. I think in the end, it will probably still be Joe Tippmann. But I got to say, if training camp rolls around and we're getting reports that Josh Myers is looking pretty good and Joe Tippmann is, screwing up the snaps, like that for some reason has been an ongoing issue, especially last season. It's popped up a little bit this go round in year 3. But if that's the case and Fields and Tippmann cannot get on the same page and they just feel like Josh Myers is a better fit for the offensive scheme, is it out of this world to imagine that Tippmann would be on the bench? I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about. It would be honestly a pretty bold move here by the coaching staff, but there is pressure here on Tippmann to secure the starting spot. Next up, wide receiver Malachi Corley, someone who was drafted pretty early. The Jets traded up for him in the 3rd round. Supposedly he was Joe Douglas's 4th ranked wide receiver in the class. I mean, we've all heard the story. He had him over Brian Thomas. He had him over Keon Coleman, Xavier Worthy, right? Think about all those wide receivers. Malachi Corley was wide receiver for the last regime. And what did we see last season? We saw a lot of inconsistencies, right? A lot of disappointing moments. He obviously didn't have that much production last season. Not many catches, not many touchdowns, not many yards. It felt like he wasn't really involved in the offense whatsoever. You felt like the coaching staff had no idea how to use him. Just absolutely blows my mind. And it still drives me ball to think about. Like the front office and the coaching staff has got to be on the same page, dude. Like, but in any case, they for whatever reason, Corley. I mean, there were moments where he was inactive, just couldn't even suit up for game day. It's like, what are we doing here, man? Like, it just doesn't. There's no rhyme or reason for anything that happened last year. I swear. It drives me crazy. But at the end of the day, Corley is still a really talented player. Like, he has strength, he has speed, he has acceleration. He can speed up really, really quickly. You're kind of hoping like, okay, one season under his belt, you're going from the worst offensive coaching staff in the league to an unknown, but you got to imagine it's going to be an upgrade over what we saw last season. That's how bad it was. So if Corley's getting better advice, he's getting better coaching, maybe he's learned from some of his mistakes, maybe the offensive coaching staff can figure out ways to get him involved. Glenn talked about throwing screens to him and watching him just take it the distance. I mean, he had a ton of production back at Western Kentucky. This guy can obviously make plays with the football in his hands. And I mean, even on the play where he dropped the ball entering the end zone, or right before he was about to enter the end zone, like you saw the speed there. Like, he has NFL pro speed, above average speed. So it gets you excited. Like, hey, can the Jets use this guy in, different packages and whatnot? If we could find a way to get him the football, it's going to be fun watching him bloom at the wide receiver spot. But, of course, it takes two to tango. It's not only on the Jets' plate of responsibilities, it's also with Corley. Like, he's got to produce. So there is pressure there. In a wide open wide receiver room, you're kind of like, as a Jet fan, you're waiting to hear something about someone else other than Garrett Wilson stepping up and making plays. That should theoretically be Corley, again, given everything that we've talked about so far. But up to this point, we haven't really heard much of anything outside of he's dealing with an injury. So there is pressure on Corley this training camp to prove a lot of people wrong. And last but not least, I got to go with Justin Fields, right? As much as I love Justin Fields' talent, as much as I love his mobility, his arm strength, I mean, it really seems like guys rally around Fields. Numerous people, coaches, players, reporters, they're all talking about Fields' like leadership style, how it's night and day compared to last season. Kind of a quiet leader, handles his business, wants to prove it on the field. One of the guys. I love all that stuff, right? I love how the Jets like committed to him and gave him this runway. Even if it's just for one season, it's like, hey, you're our guy for one season. We're going to build the offense around you. Here's a multi-year deal, $40 million. Let's see what you can do. Can you be the next Sam Darnold? Can you be the next Geno Smith? Only time will tell. But here's an actual opportunity. I liked him back at Ohio State. Obviously, he did a lot of really good things there. I love how he has a connection with Garrett Wilson. It seems like Garrett is happy and is, cool with Fields and that the whole acquisition. That's awesome. That is awesome. I mean, Justin Fields, this to me is not an over-exaggeration. He's a top 5 running quarterback in football. Top 5 running, like the guy is just incredible with running the football. We've seen really good games. We've seen really good moments, crazy highlight types of plays. But here's the problem. It's inconsistent. Again, I love Fields. I'm really hoping he works out. But we have to be objective here. There hasn't been that season. There hasn't been that 17-game stretch where it's like he's the franchise quarterback. Again, there's been glimpses, there's been moments, there's been games of really, really impressive stuff. As a fan, you're watching. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that Bears fans are still supporting Justin Fields, even though he plays for the Jets now. And he's a year removed from playing for Chicago too. You go back to Pittsburgh, saw some pretty good things. Fans and players were upset when the Steelers decided to make a move and go with Russell Wilson. Again, I just don't think that's a coincidence. Like, if he was truly awful, truly unplayable, and this guy was a third stringer, just a career backup, it just doesn't really feel like he would have the support, the backing of so many people. And if we believe the report that Pittsburgh wanted him back and he chose the Jets, that kind of bodes well in his favor. So, again, I think even though there's a lot to like with Justin, we just need to see the consistency. At this point in his NFL career, not many people would say he's a franchise quarterback. Yeah, I'm going to pass on 10 different quarterbacks. I'm going to pass on 15 different quarterbacks. If I, fantasy draft style, I could just take my pick. I'm building a team. You can probably scoop up 15 guys that you would rather have over Justin Fields. Like, it's not a for sure thing that Justin is going to be here for the long haul. So there is pressure. There is a lot to prove for Fields this season. And of course, once training camp gets going. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Is there someone that maybe you have your eye on? Tony Adams, Malachi Moore, Braylon Allen, Breece Hall, contract year. We'll see. Armand Membu, right? Passing on Tyler Warren, passing on Loveland, right? For a right tackle. I know there were Jet fans that still to this day would have rather went with an offensive weapon. Mason Taylor, tight end 1. Like, there's a lot of different guys, a lot of different cases that you can make here. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. Enjoy your Friday. And as always, go Jets.